This is the original Angel of Darkness, and you're listening to the Profane Humanities Podcast.
Greetings one and all, and welcome if you're new here. I'm Dr. Paul Harrison, and it's that time again where I get to interview one of my heroes. And as you can hear from that intro sting, today it's the wonderful, the talented, and until very recently, the elusive Jonell Elliott. Though most of you will know Janelle for her amazing work on Tomb Raiders 4 through 6, Janelle's voiceover credits are vast and include TV and radio commercials for Johnson & Johnson, Felix, Amex, McDonald's, Sony, Nescafé, Wella, Loyld's, NatWest, Shaw, Oil of Olay, and many more. She's a regular voice on BBC One and 2, ITV, Channel 5, UK TV, Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, History Channel, and Sky TV. Janelle has voiced many cartoon roles in Angelina Ballerina, Miffy, Yo Gabba Gabba, Lazy Lucy, Planet Grabo, and the slow Norris. I hope I pronounced those right. You may have heard Janelle on documentaries such as Too Much Too Young on ITV or sports programmes on Transworld. Her acting credits include parts on Grange Hill, Family Affairs, Second Sight, and Beer Goggles, and the feature film Welcome to the Punch. And if that wasn't enough, Janelle has also been a presenter, including work for Alien Wars on Sky, the Psychic Channel, also on Sky, and the Great Big British Quiz. This interview is made as a compliment to the interview with Janelle by our pal and all-around great chap Chris from Raidercast, so please go and check his interview out for all the bits I don't cover here. I also want to give a shout out and thanks to Chris for helping promote this episode and being so open to collaboration. I feel like in competition we all suffer. In collaboration, everyone can win. Tomb Raider needs no introduction, but this part of the original classic Tomb Raider series is near and dear to my heart. I'll let Janelle break the series down for you, but needless to say it begins in Egypt with the release of 1999's Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation. Lara Croft dies. Sorry, spoilers for a 21-year-old game. And we see her memorialised in Chronicles and resurrected in the Angel of Darkness. As Janelle will mention, this feels like a trilogy all its own within the classic Lara universe, and it's a personal favourite for me. In 1999, Egyptomania was riding high with the release of The Mummy and the explosion of alternative archaeology. And whilst this may or may not surprise some of my peers, I was really into that at the time. It was before I'd gone on to study Egyptology, and I would devour anything with Egypt on it, and Tomb Raider was no exception. In fact, until the last reboot, I'd prided myself on finishing every game at least once. So for everyone who's joining from the Tomb Raider fan community for the first time, I assure you you're among friends here. But enough of my rambling. You're here to hear the scoop from Lara herself. So, without further ado, it is my honour and pleasure to introduce to you Jonell Elliott. Janelle, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
The pleasure is all mine. And I know that you covered quite a lot of ground with Chris in Raidercast recently. I will encourage all of our listeners to go and listen to that episode over on the Raidercast. Fantastic interview. And it laid a lot of the ground for how you got into acting and how you got into the role. But there was something I wanted to pick up on.
Sure.
In there. You mentioned in the Raidercast that you decided on performance at a very early age, 6, yes. I think you said.
Very early. Yes.
Yeah. How supportive were people of that career in performance at that age, and how did that evolve as you kind of made such great progress?
We're obviously talking about my parents. And they were really supportive. I mean, right from the start, they let me pursue all the hobbies that I loved. And I think they were just pleased that I'd found something that I really enjoyed and that made me happy. But it kind of obviously became apparent over time that I was a little more serious about it than they first thought. And I pestered and pestered them to go to drama school. And at 13, I auditioned for a well-known London stage school. And, you know, neither of my parents were in the business, so it was all a bit alien to them.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, they agreed to let me audition, thinking that I probably wouldn't get in, and that would be the end of it. But I auditioned and I did get in. I mean, it was around the sort of time when Fame was on the telly. Do you remember that? You might be a bit young.
I do.
It's a bit 80s.
I do remember Fame.
That really is going back a bit, isn't it? But
it certainly is, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, drama schools were really popular at that time. And I remember the school sort of saying to my parents, there's only 22 places and we've had over 4,000 applicants. So it was a bit of a big deal. And it was a bit, you know, slim that I get in. So,
wow.
Yeah, I was fortunate to get a place. And it was the beginning of, I suppose, the shape of things to come.
That's fantastic. And well done you on getting one of those 22 places. That's incredible.
It was a very exciting time. I mean, stage school was an absolute scream. I mean, it was hard work, but, you know, I had a lot of fun there.
I'm quite jealous, actually. I always wanted to go to stage school as a kid.
Did you?
And, yeah, but I ended up at comprehensive. So.
Oh, yeah, but look what you're doing now.
That's right. It's not where you come from, is it? Ultimately,
exactly.
It's where you set your sights. And I mean, you've done, you know, as I mentioned in the introduction, you've done a lot of these really good roles, and you've become a well-known voice, even if people aren't aware that it's you behind the voice on the things that they're watching. But voice work is really prestigious now, and I know a lot of people that do it, you know, full-time professionally. Was it something you'd wanted to do at the time, or did you set your sights on other aspects of performing?
Well, no, not really. I mean, I fell into voiceovers quite by chance, having worked in a recording studio, which, you know, I mentioned with Chris on his podcast. And if I hadn't worked there, I don't think that it would have come around for me so easily, to be honest. It wasn't a master plan. I just got an unexpected opportunity. So I was really lucky at just being in the right place at the right time. I mean, I was making tea.
Were you literally making tea when you got offered the job?
Coming in with my little tray, going, here you go, guys. Here's a cup of tea and a slice of cake. And they were like, you know what? We need a voiceover and we need one now. And I was like, oh, okay. And my boss was there and he was like, you know, she went to drama school. You should give her a go. So I popped in the booth, had a little go at it, and they liked what I did, and that was just the beginning of it. I mean, I carried on working at the studio for a couple of years after that, but I did get an agent, and for a year I was sort of like, boss was sort of saying, you know, in your lunch break, you know, I'd say, I've got a job coming up, and he'd go, well, just take it as lunch and go and do your job. And I'd hoodle off to Soho, do the job, and then come back, and they might sort of make it up with a bit of overtime. But over time, I started getting quite a few jobs. Suddenly I was getting 5 or 6 a week, and I was like, the boss's wife was like, I think you better leave now. I don't think you need us anymore. It's time to fly the nest. Go on, off you go. So
that's so brilliant, though, because it's kind of, there's a parallel there with you always hear the famous story about Harrison Ford getting his jobs just from being a carpenter on set and falling into acting that way. So, you know, you as Lara and he as Indiana Jones have that in common, which I think is fantastic.
I love that.
You did some voice work and you voiced some games Lara and Tomb Raider as well. What was it like entering the gaming world at that point in time?
Yeah, I mean, it felt really exciting, to be honest, to be voicing characters for computer games in the mid-90s. It was a whole new arena where you could potentially play any part. You know, it was your voice, obviously it wasn't you in person. So you could play multiple characters and really stretch yourself being a voice actor. They always seemed, you know, so epic and exciting. You could be playing parts like you're playing, you know, a female soldier in one, and then, you know, I might be playing an old woman in another, and then young 7-year-old Miette, like in City of Lost Children. So it was so much fun being able to play lots of different characters that you obviously wouldn't play in person.
Yeah.
As an actor. So I probably think that's why I love my job, though, as well, so much. It's like being like a big kid in a make-believe world.
I can relate to that, absolutely.
Yeah. It's not like real work, really.
I guess that's kind of the thing, isn't it? Because at that time, we went from video games being this kind of 8-bit or 16-bit kind of phenomenon into, especially, you know, with the later games like Tomb Raider, into something more cinematic where suddenly you are acting an entire role.
Yes. I mean, it felt like that very much for Angel of Darkness. It definitely was more filmic. Sort of, it was a big, chunkier script and a very sort of meaty storyline. So, yeah, I mean, it's changed so much, hasn't it, over the years? It's I mean, I couldn't even begin to imagine what it's like now, because I'm not a gamer, as you know. I mean, they just look like real life now, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. A good friend of mine does. She does a lot of voice work, and she was in some of the Assassin's Creed games and things like that. Yeah, Alex Walton Regan. She's coming on the show at some point, actually. But
excellent.
You mentioned Angel of Darkness, and I do want to pull at that thread actually in a bit. But before we get to that, I mean, Lara Croft was this huge icon already when you were cast. So how did it feel to step into the boots of such an icon?
Well, it did feel as well as exciting. It was a little daunting knowing that Shelley had perfected the role so well in the first Tomb Raider, and then later Judith Gibbons in 2 and 3. But I knew I was going to have a lot of fun playing her. I mean, Lara Croft, she's got an army of boy and girl fans already. So, she had, boy and girl fans already. So I knew I had big boots to fill. So it was a combination of keeping a little of what, they already knew, but adding my own little bit of spice to her character as well. To have such a powerful female role to play felt like it was like breaking boundaries in a way,
Yeah, absolutely. And we hear kind of the stories of how, various actors and models were approached to kind of do all this gauntlet of things, tasks and exercises they had to do just to take on the role to prepare to play Lara. Were you asked to do any kind of prep or research in order to get into character?
In a word, no, nothing.
Wow.
I mean, apart from the information that the producer gave me about Lara's background, I mean, I'd love to say that I had to mentally and physically pummel myself for the role but I think that was left for Angelina Jolie, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, I mean, I obviously, because I knew of her, I knew she was feisty and go-getting character, so I already knew a lot about her. But I just sort of followed directions, really, because that's what you do as a voiceover artist. You listen to what the producer tells you what to do and go ahead and do it.
You were already friends with Shelley Blond, the first Lara.
Yeah.
At this point, did she give you any tips or any pointers?
I don't think we really discussed it that much. I mean, we had a laugh about it, and she was like, just go for it, babe. But no, I mean, I think Shelley and I have been friends for so many years now. I think we probably rub off on each other a little bit. We're kind of quite similar types, really. I mean, we've done so much together over the years as well, from musicals to Tomb Raider to voiceovers. So
that's brilliant. A tale of two Laras. I love it.
The tale of two Laras, yes. She's the only Lara I keep in contact with, though. So I don't know any of the other Laras in person.
It's funny because the quality and the tone of Lara's voice has changed, obviously, with each actor. And there's I felt, and this is what struck me when I replayed Tomb Raider Last Revelation recently, there's a really strong continuity jumping from the first game, Shelley Blond's performance, and yours, more so I felt than with 2 and 3. Not that's not a criticism, obviously, but was that intentional?
No.
Or was that just...
No, not at all. Not in the slightest.
Brilliant.
I think, like I've already said, it's like maybe sharing that dressing room for 6 months. We started sort of emulating each other.
That happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What was it like to play? You played if I'm not mistaken, the very first appearance of young Lara, like teenage Lara. What was that like?
I did. I mean, playing Lara, it was really cute actually, playing 16-year-old Lara. It was like another dimension of her character. Now, but I'm used to playing a lot of younger characters. I've played quite a few over the years in other roles. I think sort of playing those young characters comes naturally to me. Maybe it's because I'm a bit immature for my age, perhaps.
I was going to ask why, but...
I do a lot of character voices, like when I did Angelina Ballerina, I was like playing kids, and then, I've played boys, and I've played old ladies, and all sorts of different characters, and that's what I love about the job.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your favourite? I mean, when it comes to doing age ranges in voice, what do you have the most fun with?
I don't know. I mean, I love it all. When I'm doing promos, I obviously do me, and that's all very interesting with whatever I'm, voicing. But yeah, I mean, the cartoons are obviously really good fun because you'll start off, they'll probably give you a character, and then you turn up, you pitch up, and they'll say, "All right, we're thinking about you for this character as well." And then as you go along, you might be on episode 3 or 4 or something, and they go, "Oh, you're going to play this character as well," and it's all very much off the cuff. I love that though. That's what I enjoy doing, is doing things off the cuff, improvising.
And there is a lot of that in that kind of field as well, isn't there? I think.
Yeah. I mean, we did used to have a good laugh. When I think about, when we did Angelina Ballerina, it was like Judi Dench and Derek Jacobi on it. And, one of us attempted to do a voice and it might have gone a bit wrong and we'd all burst out laughing. We tried to do an accent and it went a bit off. We would have a real giggle.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
What was the process when you were recording Tomb Raiders 4 through 6? What was the process like, and how did that change, kind of, or evolve as it went along?
Well, I mean, they were all very different, really. 4 and 5 were me largely going into the studio solo, recording lines scene by scene, whereas Angel of Darkness, we were all there recording together with all your fellow actors, which, like I've said, is so much more fun than being on your own. I think today you find that you're more or less doing it by yourself. It felt like 10 or 15 years ago it was when you really sat around together, and it would take a whole day to do a couple of episodes.
And you get more interaction, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, it's always great to have to bounce off the other actors, of course.
Yeah, I must admit, actually, I think the first time I ever tried acting in anything serious, it was quite intimidating. I was opposite Simon Merrill's from Spartacus. Yes. It was a bit intimidating.
Tell me more, I'm intrigued.
I'll tell you about it sometime. I won't bore the listeners with it right now. But I remember him saying, you have to give, Paul. You have to give. You have to be generous with the material. I said, what does that mean, Simon? I have no idea what I'm doing.
Oh, yes. Even if you're not in the shot, you've got to give it your all. Exactly.
You do, don't you?
Yes.
You had quite a lot, like you kind of said earlier on. You had quite a lot to work from when it came to Angels of Darkness, in the sense that it's got this really meaty storyline, like you say, and arguably one of the strongest kind of narrative arcs from the original, possibly the entire series. What did you make of that script when it came through? I mean, it must have seemed quite different.
Well, it was much, much darker, as I've said before, and it was a much meatier role. Lara seemed a lot harder. She was much tougher in AOD. Yeah. All of them were brilliant. I mean, the whole... I kind of looked at them like a trilogy, I suppose. Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation was my first foray as Lara, and the storyline didn't disappoint, did it? I mean, who doesn't like Egypt?
Absolutely.
The ancient land of mysteries. I mean, it's got to be one of your faves, isn't it, Paul?
Absolutely was, and still is one of my faves of all time. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's set entirely in Egypt, and Lara releasing Seth by mistake and being introduced to young Lara for the first time. And it's really when you saw Lara and Von Croy cementing their rivalry. What's not to love?
Absolutely, yeah.
You got the final cliffhanger, which leads into Chronicles, and no one knows if Lara's dead or alive. The story relies on the storytelling of those 3 characters discussing Lara's past events, which led to her disappearance, and she's presumed dead. And then there's the memorial scene at Croft Manor, and the dream sequences. And Chronicles has definitely got one of my favourite lines of Lara in it, which is
what's that?
I'm a big girl now. Hit me with the bad news. It's a classic line. I love it. And I think after Chronicles, she kind of really went into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
She was everywhere. And AOD was just a brilliant experience. The story was, like I said, grittier, darker, and it was really seemed like Lara was getting her own back on Von Croy, an eye for an eye and all that. But, obviously it wasn't all what it seemed. The Angel of Darkness reveals that Lara survived the temple collapse and in Egypt, and becomes embroiled with the Cabal and that powerful cult which is trying to revive the scary Nephilim race. And you couldn't really believe that Lara was a glutton for punishment, agreeing to see Von Croy again in Paris. And
it's such a captivating story.
It is, isn't it? I mean, then obviously they have a heated conversation, and bang, he's murdered. The end of Von Croy. That's the Hunt for the Obscura paintings is on, and then obviously she meets Curtis along the way. But the storyline, it was so interesting working with so many strong characters played by phenomenal actors, and it was an absolutely incredible experience. There's no doubt.
You mentioned this and you alluded to this, so I want to pull the thread out here. You literally played Lara to her death.
Yes, I did.
So what was it like? I mean, that got a fair amount of media attention at the time, as I remember it. Did you experience any of that drama?
Well, I mean, it was amazing to play such an icon that so loved and adored, but, you know, she was such a strong, formidable, but approachable character. She felt like everybody's best buddy. But doing the voiceover for her, I was able to slip into the background, really, and let the live models of Lara take centre stage. I mean, as a voiceover artist, there's always a quick turnover. So the next job comes in and you're doing something else, you know, you're on something new. So it was a great experience, but as soon as I'd finished it, I was on to the next job.
Yeah, of course. And you mentioned this as well, in that she was this cultural icon that was a strong, independent kind of female protagonist.
Yeah.
But she's also got this other aspect as like this polygon sex symbol on magazine covers and stuff. What did you make of all these kind of seemingly contradictory impressions?
Bizarre. I mean, I suppose when she came out, it was very much the lads mag culture, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like FHM and girls in the limelight were often seen as these sex symbols, but could drink men under the table. It was like the ladette was born.
Yes,
and Lara was, you know, part of that, wasn't she, really? It's such a 90s thing, but, you know, obviously over time, that's all changed dramatically. You know, sexism and excess is more frowned upon now, isn't it? So, yeah. When I first did E3, you know, I remember the guys at Core Design saying, you know, when I was about to sort of step out and do that live Q&A, like, oh, you might get a few funny questions, you know, referring to Lara's anatomy, as well as the obvious techie questions. I mean, that would definitely not happen now, would it? I don't know. And I suppose there's so many more female gamers around now than there ever was. So times have changed a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's actually majority female, the gaming industry now. So certainly on the players' side.
And that's brilliant, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I love that. Yeah.
No, I think it's great, and I think characters like Lara set a precedent there as well for inclusion that wasn't even considered at the time. Yeah. There's a lot of spin-off material. Yeah, ads and cartoons and books and various things like that. Were you involved in much of that stuff?
Well, I did a few things. I did the Lucasade ads. I think they just sort of lifted a few giggles and few like deathy type voices off the game, but you know, to get paid for it. And I did Visa and Timex and Sega, PS2, and of course I talked about E3. I went off and I did E3 in LA, where I was in the whole mocap bodysuit behind the screen. Oh my God, I was so nervous, Paul. It was such a brilliant experience going live.
I love those mocap scenes.
I felt like I was being thrown to the lions, to be honest.
Yeah, that's understandable. Completely understandable. Have you had any like bizarre requests from fans or media outlets kind of relating to that stuff?
Do you know what? The only thing that people used to ask me a lot is to do their voicemails and answering machines.
Don't give me ideas.
But apart from that, no, nothing too
bad.
Nothing
so no
too mad.
No major negatives from taking the role other than
no major
people
negatives
like me.
at all. No, it was just a VO job that I enjoyed for a time of my life. I never expected all this years later, even doing what I'm doing today. But apparently it's the 25th anniversary next year.
Yes.
Can you believe it?
Exciting times. I can't believe that much time has passed because it makes me feel super old. But wow.
I mean, the 20th felt like yesterday. I mean, where did the time go? I'm just getting too old now, Paul.
Hardly. I don't believe
Geriatric Lara.
You sound exactly the same, though. I think, and I do want to come to... yeah, you do. And I do want to come to that, actually, in a second. But before we leave this particular section, I wanted to ask you, where did you think the characterisation of Lara, given that she was getting darker, it was getting kind of deeper story-wise, where do you think that might have gone if the reboot hadn't happened? And were there any plans that we never got to see?
Well, I mean, I just don't know of any plans for her because I was just booked as a VO artist, and it's not something that they would have shared with me, to be honest. I think I'd have liked to have seen where Curtis and Lara's relationship might have gone in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sort of shame with that. That was just, that ended and no one really knew what happened, what the next chapter was. But yeah.
What do you think? What would you have liked to see?
I think they'd have gone on a few more missions together, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes, I don't know what, but they definitely would have had some exciting times together.
Curtis Lara babies? Any of the,
I don't know. Do you think Lara would have children? Do you think she's got time for all that? I don't know.
Probably not the time. It depends how good the butler is at nannying, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose she has got the servants, hasn't she, at Croft Manor? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. She can afford a nanny.
Do you think Lara would make a good mum?
I don't know. The kids would have to fend for themselves, really, wouldn't they?
Sorry, not trying to put you on the spot there. It just occurred to me, though. Like, would Lara be a... I'm not sure. I'm not too sure.
Oh,
She'd get them the best presents, though. You know that.
yes. Yeah. They'd definitely be able to look after themselves, wouldn't they?
They really would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one would bully them.
Life after Lara, how does, if at all, playing an icon like this affect you? Is there typecasting within voice acting, or is it just more flexible because it's vocal?
It didn't affect me at all. I just carried on doing what I was doing before Tomb Raider came along, and, lots of VOs for TV and radio, etc. But I don't think I've been typecast. I've played so many roles in cartoons, over the years, and like I said, you get to play roles you'd never get to play visually, so
yeah,
it's a bonus.
Yeah. I asked this question of Shelley when I had her on the show.
I listened to your interview; it was brilliant, really good, the two of you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm really hoping we can, or that I can do this one justice, especially given that you and Raidercast gave me a very tough act to follow. So thanks, Chris. But big shout out to Chris for being so Chris helpful. Was
so lovely. It's so nice that you two are so supportive of each other.
The way I've always
really
seen
lovely.
it is a rising tide floats all boats, or raises all boats, right?
Yeah,
exactly. That's the way to look at it, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I asked Shelley this question at the time. Lara has shifted from sex symbol, pin-up of the 90s, into a much more progressive character, aspirational figure in a different way. What do you make of the new Lara, if anything?
Well, I think Lara has to move with the times, doesn't she? So people can relate. She has to appeal to everybody. Although saying that, I think, well, I hope everyone can still, relate to my portrayal of her.
I do.
Thanks, Paul.
But I am an Egyptologist, so that kind of makes sense.
I want to interview you. I really do. It sounds like you've got so many interesting stories to tell. I'm going to go and listen to your podcast after this.
You are welcome to interview me anytime. I'm not sure my listeners want to hear as much from me as they do you, though.
No, come on, don't put yourself down.
Well, I do like to subvert expectations, so we can do that as a follow-up if you want.
Yeah. I think we should go get me and Shelley interviewing you.
my
Double
God.
whammy Lara.
That would be hilarious.
With
Let's make
Paul.
that happen. Let's get Chris in the mix as well.
Let's get Chris in there as well. Yes.
Round table.
Yeah.
Would you return to the Lara role?
Chris asked me this as well. I mean, yes, of course. Of course I would, but I'm so grateful for the time that I had playing her. There's always room for new talent. I mean,
Her
in
youth
our
is
job.
Overrated. Okay, I just had another birthday, so youth is overrated. Experience is where it's at.
I think what the thing is, Paul. That nothing lasts forever in this industry. You do a job and you move on to the next. It's just the way it is. If it comes back, it's a bonus. I've been doing some ads, some commercials for over 10 years, and when I think back to the first session I did for them, I still do a well-known cat food. I think back to the first session, I just think it's a job, and you'll do one take at it, and it might go out, and that's the end of it. But if it comes back and you keep doing it, I mean, that is wonderful.
Wouldn't it
it's
be?
All you can hope for, is that you get these regular jobs that keep coming back.
I would love to see... first of all, I want to ask, are you allowed to say what cat food? Because I'm curious now.
It's Felix.
It's Felix?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what my cat eats.
Oh, really?
It's working,
Does
Janelle.
he love it? Does he like the meaty chunks?
She likes soup. Yeah.
The soup one. Oh, yes, that's a personal favourite of mine.
And now you know, ladies and gents. What roles stand out as pivotal, would you say, in your career? Kind of looking back through, what do you think's kind of been some of the bigger lily pads?
It's so difficult to answer that question, Paul. I mean, I've just loved everything that's come my way. I'm going to go over old ground here, but obviously Lara, Angelina Ballerina, played the mum in that. That was a lovely role to play, and done some other funny ones like Yo Gabba Gabba. I was playing this bizarre cat dinosaur type character.
I can't picture it.
Sounded like she was pinging off the wall. She had so much energy. all the kind of, kid stuff is fun to do as well. I'm going to be auditioning for a cartoon over the weekend. Got to put something down and, fingers crossed. We'll see what happens.
Break a leg with that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it's all good. I love everything. That's
the way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. If you love what you do, you never work another day in your life. So they say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the best and or worst advice that you've had or seen banded around in your industry?
I don't think I've had any bad advice. I mean, I just take every day as it comes, Paul. You never know what's around the corner, and just enjoy everything that comes your way, and don't let nerves get the better of you, I suppose.
That answers my next question, which was what advice would you give to your younger self?
I'd say don't be too hard on yourself. If you don't get a job, it's because you weren't right for it. Somebody else was. That's how I see jobs. When I was younger, I used to, go up for things and think, I didn't get it. I was terrible. Now I just think, no, it just wasn't right for it.
100%.
Had someone else's name on it. So
I think that was some of the best advice I got, actually, reflecting back there, right? Because I remember going for a TV job on Sci-Fi Channel back just about 10 years ago.
You've done so much, Paul.
There's a lot.
You're such a dark horse.
I haven't covered. But I went and shot this pilot in Los Angeles, and there were a few of us trying for the same role. And long story short, I didn't get that role. And at the time, I was devastated. But the funny thing is that I've been up for such similar roles so many times since.
Yeah.
And you realise very quickly they know what they want before you walk in the door.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a very clear picture in their head.
Exactly. And if it's not you, it's not your fault or anything like that.
Yeah. Exactly. You have to grow a thick skin, don't you?
You do. Yeah, you do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there, moving on with my kind of weird quickfire questions, is there anything that you believe that others might think is crazy?
I don't think I've got any crazy out there thoughts, to be honest. None spring to mind, I'm afraid.
Okay, no, that's fine. I just thought I'd ask, just in case.
What about you?
Me? Is there anything I believe that other people think is crazy?
Yeah.
Almost everything I believe, I'm sure someone thinks is crazy. I believe the ancient Egyptians built the pyramids, and that apparently is quite an unusual thing to believe nowadays.
Do you know what? I've got a confession to make to you, actually, Paul.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
In lockdown, I made a pyramid with my daughter.
Oh, amazing.
Papier-mâché pyramid. You'd be proud.
That's brilliant.
You'd be proud of me. I
would be proud.
I spent a lot of time on Egypt in the lockdown period.
Really? How come?
Year 2.
Key Stage 2, Ancient Egypt. Of course, it's part of the syllabus, isn't it?
I loved it, actually. It's like one of my favourite bits of homework I've ever had to deal with.
Yeah, same. Which is
why you've done so much of it. Yeah.
Well, if you ever want to talk ancient Egypt or need any pointers,
I know. I wish I'd had you at the time. It saved me a job and a half.
So many of my friends that have children are like, "Oh, do you want to come to the museum?" Okay, here we go again.
It's just be our tour guide. Is that all right?
That's it. Yeah, I've played tour guide many a time. So I'm more than happy to do that if you'd like to do that at some point. That would be really fun, actually.
You're on.
Yeah, let's do that. Changing tack slightly.
Yeah.
I listened to YBU.
Oh my God.
Soul Magic.
It's such a long time ago, Paul. It's like another lifetime. Honestly, it does feel like another lifetime ago.
Takes you back, right?
It does.
Listening to tracks from that era.
It does. I mean, God, it was all such a whirl. I was gigging at clubs around town, in the clubs that I used to like to go out and dance my socks off in, like the WAG and Busby's and...
I used to go to the WAG.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you remember? It was so hard to get in, like on the door. You used to get a proper, look up and down, didn't you?
Oh yeah, it was funny back in those days. Actually, there was such a vibrant club scene in London.
It makes you feel so nostalgic, doesn't it? It's like,
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we
good.
lament it a lot.
Bet we've rubbed
Actually,
shoulders before.
I'm sure we probably have, yeah.
Yes.
But that again is, yeah, like you say, a lifetime ago. What was it like being part of the music scene then, though?
Well, like I say, I mean, it was kind of around the same time that I was working at the recording studio. So I was like working there, and then I got signed to this label, and I was doing music in my spare time, and I happened to record this song with this Norwegian producer, and it got picked up by. It was originally on a Belgian label, and it got picked up by an English label through Mark Moore from S Express. He heard my track, and it was being played around on the scene, and he licensed it to his label, which was part of Rhythm King, and it had this sort of release, and it did really well in the underground sort of club scene. Didn't sort of do so well commercially, but I did interviews with NME, and we got Single of the Week and in one edition, and
wow,
there was jingles for Judge Jules and Jeremy Healy, and lots of little interviews down at Kiss, and it was a super exciting time. But it's such a long time ago. I've sort of left that career decades ago. So
wouldn't consider going back into music.
I mean, I wouldn't say no. It'd have to be the right thing that came along to tempt me. Yeah. I mean, I've recorded quite a few jingles, like TV wise and stuff as well. So I've done a bit of that in the past, and of course I did the musical in the West End with Shelley, and so the singing was always another part of what I did. So you never know, might
never say never.
Vocal cords warmed up again.
Yeah, absolutely. And with respect to music, like, who were your heroes, either at the time or kind of moving forward?
Oh, do you know what? My biggest, I suppose, where I'm a massive fan is Blondie. I mean, that is going really, really, like, when I was a kid, just wanting to emulate her.
Amazing, good choice.
She's just going back on tour as well, and she's 75. I'm like, go girl. That is so impressive. And I mean, I just think she was so cool. She had so many good songs. But, I love so many different types of music. I love a bit of hip hop, there's a bit of garage. I like a bit of, I like classical.
Mm-hmm.
I love going to the Royal Albert Hall and seeing Classic FM or something like that. I love it all. So I just appreciate music.
Same.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's a genre never defines it, really. And I think genre is becoming less of a thing, I think, nowadays as well, isn't it? Like, so many people are into just a bit of everything, and I guess that's the technology as well, isn't it? Allowing access.
Can we just say something just quickly? Can we just have a little bit of a love moment for Norsk Chick?
Oh God, yes, absolutely. What a genius, Norsk Chick! If you're listening,
amazing. I'm just like, I literally look at my Instagram. I think, I get a little bit excited. Think, maybe she's done another one.
Yep, every time.
What am I going to find? She's got some little gems there, hasn't she?
You're probably making her head explode somewhere right now.
No, she's so talented. I just had to give her a little mention.
Get on there, guys, and check out Norsk Chick's profile, because her stuff is just phenomenal. She released another one the other day, which was just
so good. Oh, she really made me laugh with that. I'm feeling stronger from my track.
Feeling stronger, yeah. Someone had to do it. What have been your favourite roles post Lara?
Probably again, like the cartoons, like Miffy, Yo Gabba Gabba. I did one called Lazy Lucy, Planet Grabo. But I really like doing documentaries as well.
Oh yeah,
I've done a few. I did one for ITV called Too Much Too Young, and then I've worked, like 30 years with like Transworld. I do some sports documentaries, sports shows. So I really enjoy doing that stuff. I mean, it's all varied. That's what I like, doing lots and lots of different things. I mean, I love, I love everybody down at ITV and BBC as well, doing their promos for them and all the kids' channels as well. Yeah, no, I love it.
What are you working on at the moment? Are you allowed to tell us what you're working on at the moment?
Well, I mean, you never know what you're doing from one day to the next, which is brilliant. Still doing Felix. I've been recording Felix and more commercials for them, for Craft. And then I work, as I said before, like, BBC, ITV, Channel 5, Cartoon Network, Disney, constantly sort of going from one company to the next doing promos. Yeah, so you never know what's around the corner. You literally, I can wake up in the morning and have nothing. And then, literally an hour later, the phone can go and it's like, you've got a job in an hour. Are you about? Yeah, I'm there. Just have a quick cup of tea and I'm on. Yep. And I mean, like never before now, obviously, because we're all at home. I mean, I did actually go into town last week for the first time. I went into a real life booth.
What was that like?
It was lovely. I was like, oh, I've missed it. It's so, as much as it's at the beginning, it was kind of like, oh, this is nice. I just have to roll out of bed and step into the dressing room. But I was so excited to actually get in my car and drive into town the other day. And just get out and go, I'll have a little coffee. I'll treat myself to a little latte. You know, go and say hello to a few real life people. Have a chin wag, go and do a little job. It was, it was really nice. Because you get to know everybody in the studios as well, and they're just like an extended family. That's the thing, isn't it? Those kind of personal relationships. Do you keep up with? I know you don't. You only keep up with Shelley from the Laras, but do you keep up with any of the other performers that you work with? Oh yes. From Tomb Raider, only Shelley, obviously. I mean, that would be a lovely idea, wouldn't it? Have a big Lara party. But oh my God! No one's ever done it. Please. Right. We are making this happen. We are going to make that happen. I'm sure we can make this happen between us, all of us. But my other best friend, like another voiceover artist, I met on a cartoon series called Enigma, like years and years and years ago. Around the same period, actually, that I met Shelley, 96. So, and we're still really good friends, and we can talk all things voiceover, and we're best buddies. But yeah, I've still got my best friend from school, from the drama school that I went to as well, and she's an actress. And so yes, I do keep in contact with my buddies that I've met on jobs or met through training. So yeah, and it's nice. Brilliant. Yeah, got years of we've spent like a whole lifetime together. So yeah, and some productions just make family units, really, don't they? Yeah, I mean, there's some people, Paul, I don't know if you find this, but you just constantly bump into. Yes. And you just feel like, oh gosh, we are just meant to be together, because you see them from one job to the next. You're like, oh, you're on this as well. Oh, brilliant. Like I said, it does feel like a family. I mean, it is such a small world. It really is, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, do you know what? A few years back, after I did Tomb Raider, I did a visual commercial for Boots, and Keely Hawes was in it. Oh, brilliant. I know, and I had to go up to her and say, you know what? Well, congratulations, you're the next Lara. I played her in the last 3 games, and she was, oh, really? We had a little chin wag about Tomb Raider life, and so that was, it is such a small world. I would love to have been a fly on the wall for that moment. That is brilliant. I've got some questions from fans, if time allows. Yes. We did cover one of these, but do you have any other favourite lines from your time as Lara Croft? Well, I think it's got to be, I'm a dangerous girl, and right now I'm losing patience. Love it. That's got to be up there, hasn't it? Everyone keeps asking me to do that one. I don't blame them, to be honest. I did that one actually on the stories the other day. But I only did the first line, and everyone was like, sending me a message going, hang on, you missed. Losing patience. Right now I'm losing patience. I was like, oh no, I'm sorry. We're so demanding. No, it's really sweet. It's funny. And this was another question that came out in the conversation. What convinced you to join social media and embrace the Lara love, so to speak? Well, you know what? I'm on Facebook, but I don't really do Facebook. It's just there. But I started doing Instagram. My close friends were doing it, and I enjoyed it, and I was doing that. And I just started to notice that I was getting quite a few people trying to friend me on there that were from, the Tomb Raider community. Yeah. And I thought, they don't want to see pictures of us down at Clacton or something. They're not going to be interested in that. I don't know, I just thought, they started to ask me questions, and I thought, well, maybe I should open this up a little bit and do a little Instagram, especially for them. So, yeah, it's taken me a long time, hasn't it, Paul? It's been what's 20 years? Yeah. But it's been really good fun. I mean, I don't think I've had such a giggle in a long time, actually. They're a great community. Really, really. I mean, welcomed me with open arms, and they've, shown me so many things that I couldn't even remember. Like the interview with Murty and Eric, and I hadn't seen that before. And of course the games, because I'm not a gamer, I was able to sort of see all these things that I recorded all those years ago. So that has been phenomenal to see all that past work. Yeah, it's been lovely.
I've got a few questions from Seth. Funny enough, as much as not the one you released, I think. It says, as much as you're not a gamer, have you ever or would you ever attempt to play one of your Tomb Raiders?
Well, do you know what? Funnily enough, I was actually talking about it with my daughter because she's intrigued by it now. Because I've never really talked about it before until recently, being on Instagram, and she's noticed that I've been had my head glued sometimes to my phone, sort of watching what's going on. And she was like, "Mummy, I'd like to play that." So yeah, I think I might have to now get myself the console and everything.
Oh, amazing!
Delve back in.
Amazing.
You never know. I might become a super sleuth at it.
Oh, that would be brilliant if you It would be brilliant if you could record some of those efforts. That would be fantastic.
I'd be dying all the time.
No idea. You have no idea the size of the audience you'd get if you live streamed yourself on Twitch playing Lara Croft.
It would be
just say that.
A very short video.
The Lara scream. Hey, do you have to record a new scream every time?
That was so funny because it's what they call like a Wella bank.
Oh.
So yeah, those like actions, you have a list, and then you just go through that list.
Yep.
So literally, you're giggling 1 minute and then you're screaming to your death the next. But yeah, that's what that's called, a Wella bank. Did you know that, Paul?
I actually didn't, despite the fact that I recorded one last week. I had no idea that was the technical term.
It's a little Wella bank.
Thank you. Brilliant. How many versions of the scream are there? Do you know?
Loads.
Brilliant.
I didn't have much of a voice after that, put it that way.
I can imagine, yeah.
Pretty hoarse for a couple of weeks after that. Because there was all sorts of different screams. You're falling off a cliff here. You're drowning here. I remember getting a glass of water and sort of drinking it and sort of screaming at the same time.
Oh my God. That's method. That's commitment to the role.
Really method.
Yeah. Has anyone recognised your voice in public?
No. I don't
Is that
think
a relief?
So. No, seriously. I mean, unless I said what I did for a living, then people go, "Oh, yeah, your voice. I think I've heard your voice. Yeah, it's very familiar." But I mean, no one's sort of said anything while I've asked for a coffee in Planet Organic or anything.
Right, yeah. Holy shit, you're Lara. Yeah.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, and that's great. That's what I love.
You get to go incognito.
Yes, hide behind my microphone.
Another question from Seth here, if I may. Can you describe your experience working with Little World Studios on the DVD game version of Angel of Darkness in 2006 called Tomb Raider Action Adventure?
I didn't. It's the answer to that. They must have just lifted my voice from the original. So I mean, yes. Never had any extra sessions on that, dear.
Oh dear, might be time to call a lawyer.
Yeah. I know. Oh, I'm too.
Just one of those things.
No, I can't be bothered.
Yeah. You kind of. There's a lot of that. Some of the contracts I've seen over the years, it's just like you are signing over your appearance and voice in perpetuity.
Yeah. Probably.
For however long we want it.
Yes. You know what? I just at the time you just go, I just want to do this role. Yes. Sign on the dotted line and do it. But I've had so much fun doing it, and I've done so many other things off the back of it, and just the fact that I've carried on working through 30 years is good enough for me.
Yeah, well, and a testament to the sticking to it and
yes.
your very hard work and your talent, obviously. So yeah, that is fantastic. Last question on the game.
Yes.
The portrayal of Lara was a bit different in Angel of Darkness compared to Last Revelation. You know, were you instructed to be a bit tougher or harder edged for that storyline?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I mean, she was always a little bit steely. I remember Shelley saying that we don't want her to have too much intonation in her voice. You know, she's quite deadpan. Yeah, she was definitely harder for that role, but I think, the storyline called for it as well. It was a very dark tale, so she had to be. And obviously she'd had so much beef with Von Croy.
Yes, understandably.
Sent her nuts.
Have you watched the FMV? Someone's put together all of the clips as a film of
No!
Angel of Darkness.
No.
That's on YouTube, and it came up on my list as I was looking through stuff the other day. And I'm tempted to do that, if only because it's such a good game.
Yeah.
But I really have issues with playing the PlayStation games on the PC, so I tend to play them on. And this is a tip, actually, if you're going to do this with your daughter.
Yeah.
I use a PS3, but I think a PS4 works in backwards compatibility mode.
Oh.
And then you can use the old PlayStation 1 game discs.
So is that what I need to get?
Well, that's the way I do it. I'm sure the community will have lots of suggestions. But if you don't want to get into a complex thing on your PC, that's the way to do it.
Right. We might have to indulge. So any tips, chuck them my way.
Absolutely. Not a problem. Yeah, feel free to email me any questions, and I'm sure I will volunteer Chris for that as well, because I'm sure he'll be happy to help.
We'll do a duel.
Yeah. That'd be fantastic. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today.
No, not at all. Thank you for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved every minute of it. And I hope our audience will feel the same.
Hope I haven't bored you all to tears.
No, God no. Loads. I'm really pleased, actually, because when I sent you the list of questions, I thought, I'm going to scare her, but...
Well, it's when I saw your Instagram and someone had put, make sure you make it 9 hours long, I nearly fainted. I was like, that might just finish me off.
1 down and 8 to go, Janelle. Are you ready?
Oh, God, please.
Thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your time.
Pleasure, Paul.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's been such a nice time.
Same here.
And maybe we'll get together again. I mean, maybe with Shelley next time. We'll have a little
that would be amazing
together.
That would be amazing.
And we could invite Chris as well and chew the cud.
That would be brilliant. That would be absolutely brilliant. Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's all chat about that.
Stick it in the diary.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay.
All right, my love.
Thank you so much.
No.
And we will catch up soon.
Bye for now.
And that's all we have time for today, unfortunately. But do be sure to go check out that Raidercast interview if you haven't already. And both of our interviews with the OG Lara Croft Shelley Blonde. And watch this space for more pop archaeology, Egyptomania, and Tomb Raider and Indiana Jones style goodness in the coming weeks and months. As an extra treat, we have a bonus episode this month to celebrate my favourite holiday, Halloween. I'll be speaking with my good friends from the Stygian Chronicles, a horror fiction podcast that specialises in the gothic and macabre from writers both contemporary and classic. Huge shout-outs go to Janelle, Shelley Blonde, Chris from Raidercast, Norsk Chick, Seth and Venice Violins for their questions. Watch this space for more and have a great weekend, one and all. And keep your eyes and ears peeled and to the ground, or however you want to mix that metaphor, because I am creating more content. So, more to come. I've been Dr. Paul Harrison. Thanks for listening.